and giving some announcements. So, hi everyone, I'm Shreyas Visapragada. I'm a fourth year grad student at Caltech in the Planetary Science Department. And today I'm going to be the session chair for session 3 Eris. And really excited for the talks that we have lined up in this session. And thanks so much to the organizing committee for having me. So before I begin the session, there's a couple of announcements from the LOC that I wanted to pass on. The first is to, please write your questions for all the speakers in the Slack. If you chat them to me, I will just redirect it to the Slack, but don't do that, just put them in the Slack. And I will try to make sure to put check marks by the questions that get addressed during the talks. Also, for POP presenters, if you haven't sent your POP slide to the LOC Gmail yet, please do so. Send it to the LOC Gmail or direct message Tara Featherolf, and we can get you set up before the POP session begins. Additionally, if you are giving a POP talk, if you could message Colby and just say that you're in the room, that way we know that we'll wait for you and we'll let you give your POP talk when the time arises. And yeah, I think that's all the LOC announcements that I've got. Looks like we're starting to pick up in numbers here, so I will turn it over to our first speaker, our story corner from Professor Erik Petigura of UCLA. So Erik, take it away.
All right, well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about life during the COVID times. So about a year ago, well, over the last year, 2 major events have happened in my life. So one is I started a job at UCLA as a faculty member, and that's been super exciting and a big adjustment. And another is becoming a dad. So in November of last year, my first child was born. So here he is, a few hours old. And, the first couple months was pretty normal as far as new parent life goes. You're not sleeping very much, and the days are kind of, drawing together, and you're just sort of in a fog the whole time. But, slowly you get the hang of things. And so, things were starting to look up after a couple months, and, he was sleeping longer, and I was getting the hang of being a dad and starting responding to more emails, and, juggling the whole, kid work thing happened. And, a major milestone, at least in our home, was when he was going to start daycare. So, we were super excited about that. So was he. And if you look at the date on this little picture, it's in early March. So we were super excited to have our kid in daycare and finally be able to start going back to work. But things just shut down 3 days after that. So we got 3 days of childcare, and then we were back at home again. Oops. But the main difference was that my wife is a essential worker. So she works in the hospital, she's a doctor. And this presented a whole bunch of challenges during the COVID era. So one was that she has a very high level of exposure to the virus in the hospital. And because of that, this was just a constant source of dread. What was she going to bring home when she walked in the door? Also feeling despair about, the health situation in our country. And just having no support. So essentially being a single parent at home for most of the time. We also didn't feel comfortable asking for other help, like our parents, or even hiring somebody to help out, because we didn't want to expose them to the germs she would bring back. I got sick in April, so I had to quarantine from my own family for a week. I found it very hard to juggle all of my various parenting, teaching, and research responsibilities, and I felt like I was doing a poor job on all fronts. One thing that was kind of surprising, which was I felt that a specific challenge was that I think our field transitioned to online activities very naturally. And so after about a month, everyone was back to doing research, and I was getting requests for comments on papers, and proposals were due, et cetera. And yet, I had no free energy, or I had no additional free energy. So things just got super, harder and harder. And things kind of climaxed, at the end of the spring quarter, when I was trying to find a way of gracefully ending a course with a lot of undergraduates during the period of civil unrest following George Floyd's murder. So this presented, a whole bunch of challenges, and I don't want to assume that I can, offer advice that's applicable to everyone. But just what's helped me, I think we need to acknowledge that we're living in unprecedented times, and I need to, adjust my expectations for myself and others. It's also, I found it really freeing to ask for support. So I was already getting support from my friends, but just talking to my department chair and other people in the department and telling them that I was struggling so much, I think was very freeing, because I felt like they understood a little bit more what was happening, on the other side of the Zoom call. Making a list of priorities, here are mine, and accepting that things near the bottom of that list will suffer. And so my own research suffered. I wasn't able to spend as much time with my students as I would have liked. And other professional activities like conferences, going to colloquia, going to departmental activities all suffered. I don't think there's any way around that. And then also just, carving out a little bit of free time for doing something for you. And so I'm happy that I'm a better skateboarder now than I was when I was a teenager. But anyway, I don't think that we're out of this yet. Things are looking a little better. So Lee's back in daycare for a second time. And, things are, slightly better at this point, although we have to be flexible because things could change at any moment. I'm looking forward to a time when I can look back on this experience and cherish, the unexpected amount of time that I had with my baby. But I still feel like we're kind of in the thick of things. So thanks for letting me share my story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erik, for sharing that. And I think a lot of those lessons are really applicable, and all the best to you and your family moving forward. So